Start.
Just reach Meridian and
Fire now.
Be Meridian. If they're still active shooting, we'll take the Bearcat, head that way.
39.
Upper Sioux, it's going to be Locust Grove and U-Stick, and they just put out a shot flyer, just so you know, on the route.
This is the 1032 podcast, where we interview experts in firearms and training with law enforcement, military, and competitive shooting backgrounds. All right, this is Raul Garcia with the 1032 podcast. Almost couldn't say that correctly. I got a new guest here, and his name's Corey Feldman. He's a good friend of mine. We worked on the same SWAT team together, worked patrol together, and he's done a lot of other things. He's got quite a bit of experience, everything from working in a jail setting, patrol detective, and a law enforcement trainer where he teaches various topics such as pursuit driving, combatives, firearms training, etc. And I'm sure there's a few other things I've missed. But that kind of gives you an idea of his background. And how many years you been in law enforcement, Corey?
23.
23 years.
Yeah.
That's quite a bit of experience.
Yeah.
So you should be on the downside, right?
I got 5 years left.
5 years?
5 years.
You're counting?
Yes. Always counting.
But yeah, Corey, pretty good officer. You're okay, right?
I'm good enough. I'm okay.
I've known Corey. We got to be friends. We met at work, going on calls together, so forth. He's had to back me up. I've had to back him up. And he's a guy I'd like to go through the door with if I have to. So what have you been up to recently, Corey?
I got a German wired-haired pointer, so we've been doing some bird hunting. I screwed up my whole hunting season this year just because I was so excited about this damn dog. And then, so any hunts that I would have put in, I didn't do it because I'm an idiot.
You're busy bird hunting instead of big game hunting.
I was this year.
Well, thanks for the invite.
Well, I'm sorry. You wouldn't have been impressed, though, because he's not that good. He's getting better, but he's not that good. But I do have some really cool places for us to go. So we'll have to do some sage hen. We'll have to shoot some sage hens and then do some Hungarian partridge. I got a great area for it.
That
so
sounds
it'll be
like
sweet.
a good time. And we got to get up to my secret spot so we can shoot some bears.
Oh, yeah. That's a must-do.
I have
gotta
some,
put that in the list for next year.
Have a place that has some problem bears.
That'll be cool.
If you're into that kind of thing.
I am, and I got an awesome gun to where we can do it for however far you want. So
that sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a few problem bears up there, and there's just a few too many.
What about wolves? You got wolves too?
There's wolves up there we need to take care of. A lot of predators.
Yeah, it's nothing like
Gotta help
predator hunting. That's pretty cool.
Got to help the deer and elk population out.
Yep, for sure.
So what else you been up to? You been doing any training? I know you're kind of a training guy.
Yeah, I went up to northern Idaho to Sandpoint to do some ShivWorks class done by Craig Douglas. I did his edge weapon overview class. Great class. I think if you guys ever get a chance to take a ShivWorks class, that's probably one of the best classes that you'll take ever. But it's long days, it's hard days, so be ready for it because you work your ass off in those classes.
I definitely would like to get into one of his classes. I just got to stop being injured.
Yeah. Yes.
1 year it's my shoulder, then the next year it's my hip, and then the next one it's my knee or something, and I'm just like, I'm just not healing very fast nowadays.
You need to rest up. You take some extra testosterone or something.
Something about retirement or something. I guess that means I'm old or something.
Well, you look pretty good. You look pretty good for being an old fella.
Well, I gotta stay trained up. Tried to work out. I still got a job, so got a retirement job. They expect me to stay in good shape for that job. So
and you should be.
Yeah.
And I'm actually trying to get a local company here to host a ShivWorks class. So we'll see how that goes. I'll talk to the SimShot guys and see if they can host a class.
Does he have a section for old guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he does. At that one class, there was a lot of old. There was a couple of retired Navy SEALs that were out there doing stuff. So That was it's pretty cool.
I saw some of those videos. Looks like you guys spar pretty hard though.
Yeah. I can hit hard too.
Any injuries?
No, I didn't get injured. I got hit in the face though a couple of times doing a couple of different things. I was bleeding. I was angry and bleeding. So
That sounds scary.
yeah,
Violent.
Yes. It's always a good time though. Violence is a good thing when you can do it.
Yeah, I guess when you have to, it's a good thing. If you have
Yes.
to do it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think you always need to be exposed to some type of violence. That way, when something bad happens, you can reach in, pull it, and then get violent.
So this incident we're going to talk about here, how long ago was that?
It was in 2016.
Okay. I guess we're going to talk about an incident that you responded to out in North County, where a guy pointed a firearm at you. Is that right?
Yep.
So tell us about that day.
Well, before we do that though, I want to reverse Sean Ryan it, and I want to give you a gift.
Oh, that's
'Cause
nice.
I brought you a gift. So I got you a new stealth black multicam hat.
Oh, that's nice.
That we have there.
It says
Yeah.
1032 on it even.
I know. It's
And you ma-
weird.
You made a hat for me
I
with
made a
my
hat
logo on it?
exactly for you. Yep. So and
Awesome.
it matches
Thanks,
your
appreciate
shirt. It matches your shirt that you got on today too. So
It does. Perfect. Hey, and for you, I have a challenge coin.
this is pretty sweet. I always like this one. It's pretty cool. I like how you got it on there.
Yeah, it's got a pistol on one side, a SIG 320, and then I don't know, it looks like a SWAT guy with a sombrero on it.
I know.
So
This was one of the when I first saw this sticker come out that you first had on it. That design's pretty badass. I really like that a lot.
yeah, I like it.
I thought that was pretty neat.
It's a SWAT guy with a U.S. flag on his plate carrier and a sombrero.
And a skull face. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's actually a wooden challenge coin.
I know.
Right? I had also retired Todd Moyer, who's a woodworker, made some of those for me. So he does a good job with woodworking. He does all kinds of other things besides challenge coins.
Oh yeah. That's pretty cool. I would not expect him to be the woodworking-ish type of dude, but I figured he'd be doing crash reconstruction for some type of attorney or something like that.
Yeah,
So
no, he's a talented guy when it comes to woodworking.
that's pretty cool. Thank you.
Yeah,
I
you're welcome.
appreciate that.
All right, so tell us a little bit about what happened that day. Actually, tell me a little bit about training that you had leading up to that. Do you feel like you were well trained or what?
Yeah, I think I was. There's specific people that I have to give gratitude towards. I think you're one person that I really have to give a lot of thank you to.
Appreciate
Just
it.
being with you and kind of coming up under you, especially out in Cuna. There was a couple of calls that were pretty hairy out in Cuna that I was pretty aggressive wanting to go get a guy, and you're like, hey, have him come to us. Don't go get him. Don't go travel into the unknown. So a lot of that stuff, a lot of the firearms training under you has made me a better shooter, faster shooter, accurate shooter. That's one thing I love. What I love about you is you always go spend the money to do the classes, and then you teach me what you learned in the different classes. So I always got really lucky with that. And then Carl Olson as well, learning stuff through him as well with shooting is pretty much. I think there's been a couple of times it's saved my life, and I think that I'm kind of selfish in that all the SWAT training and everything that I've done, or the chances to go through schools just because I teach so much, has really helped me avoid danger. So,
Well, that's what we want, right? You got to be able to be violent, but we want to avoid it if we can at all
Right.
costs, right?
I think some of the issue comes down to, especially with this incident, has to do with the articulation piece, to actually be able to articulate why you can shoot somebody, why you can't shoot somebody. And I think that really that's the hardest factor, especially at that point in time in my career, is not quite understanding Graham versus Connor. And I think that's something that I stress to people, especially.
And when you say Graham versus Connor, for those who are listening, they're not law enforcement. What is Graham versus Connor?
So Graham versus Connor sets
It's a court case, right?
Right. It's a court case, but it has to do with use of force. Basically, what it does is it sets a reasonable officer standard, and then it also has 3 other factors that are with it. So it's the severity of the crime, whether or not the threat is going to be imminent to you or others around you, and then if the guy is attempting to escape or flee. So it's or resist arrest as well. So really, when it comes down to it, if you can articulate Graham versus Connor while you're running through your shooting scenario, you should be able to make a correct decision and make it pretty damn fast. But if you don't understand Graham versus Connor, you're going to be behind the ball. You really are. And I think it's very important that people understand it.
Yes, because in what we do, whether you're a police officer or a good guy in general, you got to understand what the rules are, right? We have rules we got to follow.
Yeah, we do. We really do. And it's important to know those, because if not, you can die. And that's always a shame when there's police funerals and that. It's always a shame.
And when you were involved with this shooting incident, was it a surprise to you, or did you always expect that something like that could happen? Because I have heard, during the 30 years, I heard an occasional officer say, "Oh, I'm so surprised that happened to me. I was shocked that it occurred to me."
No, I think during that time and during the way the county has been, I mean, it used to be if you get into a shooting, and I think now it's just when you get into a shooting, the way everything's happening now. But I figured it would happen at some point in time. Did I think it was going to happen there? Probably not, because I'd been through so many scenarios of that call. That call almost set me up for failure. Actually, just my demeanor and the way I was thinking of it as I was going to a call.
You mean it a little bit too relaxed?
Yeah, because I'd been to suicidal calls before, and they always come out the same. They say they're suicidal. You take them to a hospital, and then you go to your next call. And I think that portion, or that suicidal call, I wasn't in the right frame of mind. I got really lucky. Just with the way that the things transpired. But honestly, it's like everything that I do in my life. I'm not that smart, so I have to learn the hard way. And so that was a big learning lesson. I got really, really lucky on that call. Really lucky.
Well, give us an overview. Tell us what occurred that day.
During that day, I was running traffic. And just checking people for speed up on Highway 55. During that time, a suicidal subject call came out. It was for a individual who was leaving the courthouse. What occurred and what happened was a female, soon-to-be ex-wife, called Ada County Dispatch, and she said that her husband was suicidal. I ended up giving her a call, and while speaking with her, she stated that her husband said he was suicidal and that he was going to his house, and she was following him. But she told me that he wasn't really suicidal. So these are kind of some of the things that were setting me up for failure. as I was responding to the call.
So she said he was suicidal and then said he wasn't suicidal?
Yeah, she said that he was just pretending he was suicidal. He wasn't really suicidal, but she was calling him in as being suicidal.
Just in case.
Yep, beats me. So I tell her, hey, well, you called it in anyway, so me and another deputy will talk with him. So I was coordinating with another deputy to have the vehicle stopped as it was heading up the road. So I had him pulled off. He was going to let the car pass him and then pull the suicidal individual over. I was up ahead of him, not quite to the house, but I was on my way. As everything works out in my life, Murphy works its way out, and the deputy's not able to get him stopped on the traffic stop at all. So he's not able to. So he does turn on his lights, and the guy keeps going. He doesn't even have a chance to get him stopped because he's driving too fast, and he's in a big pickup truck. It doesn't even get a chance to stop him. Okay. Wife and him land at the house, and then I'm talking to the deputy that I'm with, and he's like, hey, I missed him, couldn't get to him. It's like, okay. So this house is up on a hill, so being able to, let me back up. It's a mansion up on the top of a hill. Approach is really, really horrible and bad. So we decide he gets parked. He jumps up on the side rail of my patrol vehicle, and we drive up. He jumps off, and then he immediately hits the garage. He's making announcements, doing everything that he's supposed to do. Like I said before, dealt with a ton of suicidal dudes, so my attitude is pretty shitty.
That's one of the most common calls that go on nowadays, right?
Yeah, it really is, especially in this area. There's a ton of suicidal calls. I don't know why, per se, but we get a lot of them. A lot of mental health issues up here. So I have my my bad attitude to where I'm just thinking to myself, we're going to talk to him, we're going to put him in handcuffs, put him in the back of the truck, I'm going to take him to the hospital. As the deputy is making announcements into the garage, I tell him I'm going to switch to channel 2, so we're not going to communicate over regular dispatch. I tell him I'm going to the front door so I can see inside and see if I can make contact with him. As I'm doing that, it's like 30 yards from the garage to where the door's at on this house. So I start walking up it, and then as I'm walking up it, I get halfway, I get about 15 yards up, and then I hear a scream, a female scream. I'm dealing with a suicidal subject, so I know the scream is not good, so something bad is happening. When I hear that, I start to run. So I run up, and as I get to the front door, I see a female who is terrified. It's the most scared I've ever seen somebody, just the look on their face. She's terrified. She's pale and white. So I tell my partner, I say, hey, I'm up at the front, and I draw my gun. Then as I draw my gun, she points down a long hallway. I step inside the residence, and as I'm looking down, I see a gentleman, and he's a smaller stature type of guy, and it's like 15 yards deep into this other bedroom that he's in. So as he's walking, he looks at me, takes a step like through the door, not through the doorway, but past the doorway. Like he's walking in the room, going to bypass something in the room, but he sees me. He squares up with me. He puffs up his chest, dips his chin, or tucks his chin, and then he's got a .357 handgun. And that he comes over and he kind of puts it in his hand, in his second hand. So he's got the It's almost like he's got his arms crossed, but he's holding the 357 handgun. So I see that. I see him puff up his chest. I see him tuck his chin. I see that gun. I'm like, holy shit, that's a really big gun. And it's funny, when I was a kid growing up, I knew exactly what it was because my dad had a couple of Smith & Wesson handguns. He had a 357. I was like, yeah.
So it looked familiar.
Yeah, I was like, that's a big gun. So I'm looking at it, and I immediately draw down on him, and I'm stuck in a hallway. There's really no place for me to go. It's a 15-yard. It's about 15 yards from where I'm at to where this individual is. And as I'm looking at him, I'm thinking, I'm having a whole bunch of self-talk. Self-talk is hey, you better be on your A game, because it's going to get real. As I'm having this self-talk, I'm also thinking about an old conversation I had with a deputy a long time ago. And he's like, it's always, that you got that real, not that I'm fit or handsome or anything like that, but you always get those
handsome.
Well,
A little bit.
you get those cops. You get those cops that are young and fit and in shape, and then they just get like murdered by some just doughboy piece of shit old man, And I'm just thinking, I was like, this shit ain't gonna be me. So as I'm doing that, I'm issuing verbal commands to him. I'm telling, hey, drop the gun, stop. And as I'm doing that, I'm thinking to myself, inside my brain, you got to shoot him. Shoot him now. Shoot him. Shoot him. Shoot him. And I'm just telling myself to do it, but I can't, because I can't articulate Graham versus Connor well enough. That's the
Just
problem.
the self-doubt, right?
Right. Well, I mean, with the call as well, it's a suicidal subject, right? It's not like he's done any type of major crime or anything to somebody else. He's just suicidal, dude. But I got this guy's soon-to-be ex-wife right next to me. He's got a gun. He's already puffed up his chest. He's already tucked his chin. He's eyeing me down in the threshold of the door. There's no place for me to go, so I'm kind of stuck out in no man's land there. So it's a hard decision for me at that time to do it. Now, hindsight being 2020, I should have just, once he puffed up his chest and tucked his chin, that should have been go time right there, because he's in a defensive posture. I'm going to get into a fight. He's got a gun, and it's going to be a gunfight. I should have just put hammered down right there, but I just wasn't able to articulate that use of force at that time. So as I'm looking at him and that type of stuff, he is a smaller stature type of individual, like I said before, and he's 15 yard deep. I know I got to be on my A game, so I got to get a perfect sight picture. So I look down my iron sights, and I have the best sight picture that I think I've ever had. The problem is that when I had that perfect sight picture, that perfect front sight picture, he blurred out. I couldn't see him anymore.
Yeah, because you were taught, right, when you shoot, especially with iron sights, you're supposed to focus on that front sight, right?
Yep. And so he blurs out. Well, now I'm in a predicament because I don't even know what he's doing. I can't see him, right? So I have to push my vision back out again. As I push my vision back out, I get super lucky. This is why I'll never win the lottery, like ever. So as I push out my vision, he takes a knee and points a gun at me. As he's dropping down, taking a knee and taking a firing position, I end up shooting. I press 3 rounds, and then I miss him because I'm already action versus reaction. He's getting off the X just by taking a knee. So I think my first 3 rounds, I shot over him. I hit him with my 4th.
So you fired as he was kneeling, so you feel like you shot over the top of
Yep,
him. Yep,
I shot over the top of him, and you could see the bullets as they were tracing down as I was shooting. So first 3 went over the top of him as I was chasing him down. I think I caught him with the 4th one. And then he hit the ground so hard that he like matrixed the other 2 bullets. I mean, he just dodged them because he went down so hard. It was the craziest thing ever. So as I'm doing that, well, let me back up real quick. So I have always shot with one eye open. I always closed an eye. And talking with you and that type of thing, you always shot with both eyes open. I think it's very important for people to know that you really, really need to shoot with both eyes open, whether or not be an optic on your handgun or iron sights. And the reason being is you're going to have some type of tunnel vision when it comes down to it. And if you shoot with only one eye and you close the other, your field of view is just a little tube out of whichever eye that's open. When I got into that shooting, the female was right in front of me, and I never even knew it. And the reason why is because I had one eye closed. So it's super, super important to make sure that both eyes are open when we're shooting. That way we can open up at least some of that tunnel vision that we get, and not limit it more than
So you can see out of your
whatever it
peripheral
is.
vision. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, anyway, so back to the incident. I end up by the time the shooting is all over and done, my partner that I came up with, he finally made entry into the house. So shooting's done. He's down, and I think this dude's dead. I think I shot him with all 6 rounds. I got A-zone hits, and I'm the man. So as I come down and as we're drawn down on him, he starts moving. And I'm like, I just blew my own mind because I thought that I hit him with everything. I thought that dude was dead, but he wasn't. So we issue commands for him to not move. When he got shot, he ended up getting shot high up into his shoulder, in his right shoulder. Once he got hit with that round, the gun came out of his hand. So it was laying near him, but not really next to him. So we issue up verbal commands, head on over to him, and then we end up handcuffing him. As we're doing that, my partner's got to leave to go check on the female and the wife, and he ends up leaving me with the guy that had just got done shooting. So as he's handcuffed and laying down, and I hear all the sirens coming and that type of stuff, I'm looking at my hits up on the wall, and I'm pretty disappointed in myself with the hits that I had, just because I only hit him once, eye in the shoulder, and then I got a whole bunch of rounds that are just tracing him down that outside of the wall.
So you could see the bullet holes in the wall behind him.
Yeah. Even it's weird. Even the round that I shot him with went through and through, and it still went out through the house as well. So yeah, it was pretty silly.
And there wasn't any houses behind him, right? Or behind the
No.
house?
He lived up on a big hill, so there was the only thing that was there was just a dirt,
Hillside.
hillside. Yeah, I was there. So
So real quick, going back to when you were describing your thought process, what was going through your mind, the moment that you saw him standing there with that handgun. Mm-hmm. You described a thought process that took you took you a couple of minutes to describe it. But how fast was that actually occurring? That wasn't minutes. That was seconds, right?
No, it was nanoseconds. The crazy thing is how fast everything goes when you get into an incident like that.
So from the first time you made contact with him until you started firing was about how long do you think?
Oh, probably 2 or 3 seconds.
2 or 3 seconds, yeah.
Yeah.
I just want people to understand that, when you're describing that, I know when you're in a stressful situation, a lot of things go through your mind super fast. And when you describe it to somebody, almost makes it sound like you're just kind of lollygagging there and you're having this little long conversation with yourself. But that's just a matter of a second or two.
Oh yeah, and I think even if you take a look at shootings with police on YouTube and all that type of stuff, I mean, they get on scene and then all of a sudden there's a shooting. It's really, really quick, and it surprises you. It surprises you even after you look at it through my on-body video that I had of it. It went so fast. It was unbelievable. And thinking about it during the time, it seemed like it took forever, but it didn't. It was
I think
really
that
quick.
for those who've never been involved in this kind of thing, I think the best way to describe it is, when you're driving a car and you either get into a crash or you almost get into a crash, how fast that happens.
Right.
Right. It's just
That's
you're
good.
driving
That's a good
along,
example.
all of a sudden it's just happening. Right. And you're trying to avoid the crash or you're crashing.
Yeah, that's an awesome way of putting it.
I just thought of that right now, just off the top
That's
of my head.
because you're really smart.
Yeah. So, how much firearms training had you had leading up to that?
And actually, quite a bit. I mean,
What was your agency training on a regular basis? Like,
I've received more. I've received more training just because of SWAT stuff. If I wouldn't have been in SWAT, I wouldn't have received so much shooting per se. So that's one of the reasons why. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to be on the SWAT team so I could save my own ass if I needed to.
Get more training.
Yeah.
going back to the shooting, did the suspect, did he fire any rounds at you?
Yeah, he wasn't able to get any off.
No, because you were too fast.
I was pretty fast on the trigger. I was pretty quick.
So he didn't fire any shots. Was his firearm loaded?
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
And his wife was never injured during that
No,
incident?
she was never injured. She was right there. She saw the whole thing.
And you said you had a partner there. Did he fire or was he?
No, because he was out. He was running towards us. In fact, he got to the front door as the actual shooting was happening.
Was there any cover that you were shooting from, or was there time to go to cover?
No, there wasn't any. There wasn't any time. I was in a hallway. I was kind of just stuck there. It sucked.
And I know you said it was daytime, correct? You were on day shift at the
Yep.
time. Inside the house, was it dark? Did you have a weapon light, and did you need a weapon light?
No, it was. I didn't need a weapon light.
Because sometimes we're on day shift, right? And then you go inside a
Yeah.
building and you need to have a light.
Well, the good thing about this structure actually, it was kind of like a mansion, and it was really well lit with big windows, so it was pretty damn bright.
Yeah, for some reason those big fancy houses are like that. Lots of windows.
Well, they don't care about heating. They got lots of money, so they can they can just heat whatever and throw money at it.
Yeah. So you said you were on SWAT, but you were on patrol at the time, right? Mm-hmm. So how does that work for an agency like yours? That you say you're on patrol, you're on SWAT. How does that work?
I'm part of a part-time team, really. So we train twice a month, 16 hours a month, and then whenever there's some type of call out where police don't have the tools or whatever, or the ability to get somebody out of a house, whether it be an armed barricade or whatever, they just call out SWAT.
So I would say the majority of law enforcement agencies around the country, I would say probably 90% or more, are part-time teams, correct?
Yep.
Part-time means that you're like assigned a full-time position, either as a patrol guy, detective, or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? And then every other week, you guys are in training for a full day, training on SWAT tactics and shooting.
Yes.
And then you're on call in
Yep.
between that, right?
Yep. So whenever something pops off, we have an app that alerts us on our phones, and then we drive to a command post or wherever we need to go.
And so then you guys have more And it's called SWAT because it's Special Weapons and Tactics is what that stands for. So
Yeah.
you guys have more tools available to you.
Yeah, a lot of times you're gonna need CS gas, less lethal rounds. We also have a tech unit that's attached to us, so we can use a robot, go in there and clear houses with like RC cars with cameras on them. Basically, is what they are, and it'll help mitigate any type of danger that we could be exposed to. So, all good stuff. Lots of tools and everything that we need. So,
Leading up to that call that you just described with your shooting, how was your day before that? Were you guys busy that day, or?
because I think I had went to a pretty significant car crash that day. So went to a car crash, got that all done, got the people taken in the ambulance to the hospital, and then was just continually running traffic just to make sure that people weren't speeding. That's about it.
So can you describe some of your training, like leading up to that, before that, as far as related to like firearms?
Oh, the firearms. It's just rifle, pistol work, that type of stuff. If I would have known that I was going to get into shooting, I can tell you I would have brought a rifle for sure. But just your standard shooting movement type of drills.
Do you feel that most law enforcement agencies give their guys enough training?
I don't think so. No.
What is enough training?
More than what they give you. I think.
Right, because you hear law enforcement guys, especially the street guys, always saying they don't have enough training. What does that mean?
Well, I think what it really boils down to, what it relates to, is that policing agencies are only going to give you enough training to say that you're trained, and then it's really not much. They'll give you the minimum set standard of training. And really, when it comes down to it, if you probably should be looking outside, whether it be shooting USPSA or
Going to your own classes,
spending your own money, doing that type of thing. Because when it all comes down to it, your agency is only going to give you the bare minimum to say that this person is trained. They will never give you more. Because training costs money, really, when it comes down to it. And not every agency is going to be able to spend millions upon millions of dollars putting people through training.
So what do you recommend guys do that are up and coming? Guys are like, hey, man, I'm concerned that I may not perform as well as I should when it comes to, critical incidents. I need more training, but the department's not giving it to me.
I think one of your best things that you can do is go shoot USPSA or go shoot a 3-gun match, 2-gun match, anything like that. It's cheap, and you can network with guys, talk with guys, and you will improve your shooting. You will improve your shooting, because that type of stuff is all about shooting fast and accurately, really, when it comes down to it. And if you can do that, I think that translates a lot into tactics. I know we've had this discussion before about stuff and about being a competent shooter, and being a competent shooter will set a foundation for everything else, And you're more confident, and I think when you're more confident, you can handle stress better, especially if you get on a one-on-one type match. Really, because when I was going through the shooting, my adrenaline wasn't spiked. I was working through a problem, and I had some. What is it? I didn't have any auditory exclusion. I did have my visual cone.
Had some tunnel vision going on.
Some tunnel vision. And it doesn't matter what you're doing. Everybody experiences tunnel vision, when I watch a Raider game, I get tunnel vision. When I watch a Raider game, I get auditory exclusion. And I can tell you that much because my wife will let you know that. It's not something that miraculously happens to the body when you get into a shooting. It happens all the time. And I used to think that it was a magical thing that only happened in critical incidents, but it's not. We do it all the time. It's nothing magical.
But it happens more if you don't have experience.
Well, yeah,
right?
that is
it
true.
It can happen less and less the more experience you have.
Yeah, and I think some of that has to do with awareness too. They always talk about the levels of awareness, whether it be white, yellow, orange, red, or black, that type of thing. I mean, really, if you're in white and a critical incident pops off, you're gonna freeze. That's just the way it's gonna be, and you got to be real careful with that stuff. You really do, and just know that, hey, if I'm out working and I'm running around, my awareness needs to be at the appropriate level, because if it's not, you could
Would you
end up
say,
in a bad way.
Studying other officer-involved shootings, other incidents around the country, and the experience that you have, would you say that the more experience you have in training, that the less likely you are to overreact, maybe?
Yeah.
Like that cornered cat kind of thing? Where,
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of the time is the self-confidence thing, right? If you're not confident in your physical skills or your physical abilities, I think you'll always overreact. Because if you're not comfortable with where you're at in your training, you're going to be scared, and that fear elevates everything. It really does.
Going back to your incident, can you tell us a little bit about the aftermath?
Well, the cool thing is I didn't have to write a report. That was all taken care of for the.
So what happens?
Private deals.
What happens? Let's say you had the guy handcuffed. You got other units en route.
Right.
You put out that there were shots fired over the air.
Right.
And then things slow down. Everybody else starts to get in there.
Yep.
Supervisors get there. Then what happens from there?
They take my phone. They take my body camera, and then I'm escorted to a hotel. I don't talk to anybody or anything like that regarding the incident, because it can all be subpoenaed. So you just keep your mouth shut.
Then what happened there at the hotel?
They end up photographing you, what you look like. They take blood and urine. Let's see here.
And they do that just for evidence collection?
Yeah, they do it just to make sure I wasn't on any alcohol or on any dope.
Just to be able to rule that out.
Yeah. So they do that. They take that. Take
Did you have
pictures.
anybody come visit you?
Yeah, my wife came. I think you came. Came to see me, so that was good. Saw your smiling face.
That's right.
Makes
I
me
was
happy. It's like, good job, Corey. I was like, I know. I did do a good job, didn't I? So we did that, and then they released us. Went home with my wife right after that.
And then do they interview you at any time?
They wanted an initial statement, but they had the on-body camera. My attorney said my client's not talking whatsoever, which is a good thing. He did a good job.
Do they give you, I know agencies a lot of times they'll say, hey, we're not going to have you give a detailed interview until, you get one or two sleep cycles or something.
Yeah, they did. They did it 3 days later so I could get those sleep cycles and remember stuff.
And when you had your interview, did you do it by yourself or did you have an attorney with you?
No, so that process before I went in, like a day before, I went in and spoke with with my attorney. We went over everything, and then he was with me during the police interview. And it went out real good.
And you'd recommend other officers have an attorney with them?
Oh, for sure. If you don't have legal, you're doing yourself a disservice, really, when it comes down to it. I'm part of FOP, so that through my dues, legal's provided. But I can tell you this much: if you're an officer working anywhere in the United States, especially now, you really need to have a very good attorney. And good attorneys are worth their weight in gold, for sure.
Good. Anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah.
The incident?
Everything during that incident was on body camera. Clearly shows him pointing a gun at me. However, when we went through the court process, when they were charging him with ag assault, he ended up having a hung jury and got off.
Yeah.
It's amazing what a good attorney can do.
Well, that's too bad. That's not a good thing to hear, but I guess that's the way the court systems work, right?
Yep, that's what it's there for. So,
well, what about going forward? What kind of training you got coming up?
I'm trying to get. Well, I'm gonna go do some ID stuff down in Darcy. So in February, I'm headed off to go to Arkansas.
That's where your department sends their SWAT team for their training. Is
Yep.
that place called Darcy? What's that? Direct Action Resource
Direct
Center?
Action Resource Center. Yep.
All your guys go there?
Yep. Spend some time there. Rich Mason is a hell of an instructor and probably one of the better or the best, I would say, explosive breacher trainings out there.
And that's what you'll be doing when you go out there?
No, I'm going to, well, I'll be doing some of that type of stuff, but just mainly just kind of helping out during that time. It's an ID program to where you just help out down there. So it'll be a good time. At some point in time, I'm going to set up I'm going to try to get to an in-vehicle fighting class through ShivWorks. Try to get to one of those two. That'll probably be next year, though, maybe, to try to get down to that.
Yeah.
Do that. That way I can develop a program for police, whether it's for narc detectives, or just people inside cars when they're transporting one guy from another, or a bad guy from one place to another when they're in the back seat with them. So I'll be doing that and putting that program together at some point in time.
Sounds like a good program. Sounds like you got some good ideas and
yeah, hopefully
good programs coming up.
Hopefully, so I'm trying to make it to where I have an extreme close quarters concepts class that's all by itself for law enforcement. So through the sheriff's office, so I can make that its own little thing. So it'll be good.
All right, Corey, is there anything else you want to add? Anything you want to advice you want to give some new officers up and coming when it comes to this type of topic? One of the things I tell people is, in law enforcement, there's just so many areas of expertise, right? You got the guys who want to be accident reconstructionists that go do that. You got guys who want to be narcotics officers, guys who decide jail setting is their career. You can work CSI, you can work different things, and I chose to go down the firearms and SWAT route, and that was kind of what I wanted to specialize in, and I know that's kind of what you do. You kind of do the same. So, what kind of advice would you have for guys who are, working the street and they're like, hey, I want to be ready for something like that?
I think this is the greatest advice I could give. Be an instructor in high liability topics, whether it's firearms, defensive tactics, whatever. The reason being is that you learn more when you teach. Plus, just by teaching those subjects, you have to have updated training. So you will always get training and more training than what the average person will, just by being an instructor in that discipline. So go out, learn, be an instructor in high liability topics, and when bad stuff happens, you will at least have the training that you can use to save your life.
What do you say about those? I've heard also some criticism as well from people, myself including other guys in the industry, that talk about there's certain firearms instructors or just instructors, whatever you're teaching, combatives, right. Firearms. There's some guys who they just sound like a broken record because they're just but like people like to say they just regurgitate
Right.
word for word what they heard before,
Right.
and not really having a true understanding. So how do you get beyond that?
Well, I think you need to be the person that, first of all, that doesn't regurgitate that stuff, but you also need to find quality instructors that you can latch onto and ask questions about. And it's sometimes it might be hard to find, but you need to go on the interweb, right, and go check out reviews and that type of stuff, and actually be able to look at quality instructors and the way that they teach. Like, for instance, Craig Douglas, phenomenal teacher, one of the best, I would hands down, the best instructor that I've been to for DT stuff. Take a high-level class like that, see how he presents stuff, and then try to model yourself after that. But that's the only way that you can truly do it, is make sure that you have vetted, legit instructors and people that don't regurgitate things. And then if you are seeing somebody just regurgitate something, you can test them and ask them questions and see if they give you some type of bullshit answer, or they actually have their shit together and they can explain what they're trying to teach you.
Because you got the guys that, maybe went to a post-firearm instructor class 10 years ago,
Yeah.
and they're still teaching the same thing.
Yep. So I think a lot of stuff that you can translate onto that as well is take a lot of the USPSA competitive shooters and speak with them. Those guys who can shoot fast and run and gun and do that stuff, they want to help you. They want to give you knowledge, and they'll have really good knowledge that you can pick up and then you can pass on to other people as well. So that's just some of the
But
things.
that's
to think
competitive
about.
shooting, won't that get you killed?
What? No. That's funny.
But yeah, so you want an instructor, or if you're going to be an instructor, you got to try to be on the cutting edge. Always be looking for the next best thing,
Yeah.
right? Always trying to find. Obviously, you got to have a good foundation and not just be jumping from new technique every time you go to a class.
Right.
But you need to always be looking for the next best way to do something, right?
Right.
If somebody can show me how to shoot more accurately and faster, well, you should do it, right?
Yeah, well, I think that's one thing that I like about the gun industry as well is that it's a game, and you want to be the best. It's hard to find that. It's hard to find that in the DT world, really, when it comes down to it. But it's really easy to be able to find how to shoot fast and how to shoot accurately in the
Well, you can
gun
do
industry.
like jujitsu competitions or
Yeah,
things
but
like that, right?
the more that I take a look at jujitsu stuff, it's a game, really, is what it comes down to. I mean, they don't have knives, they don't have guns, and so when let's say I put somebody in an arm bar, right? I have somebody in an arm bar. Do they have an arm free? So I can pick a knife from my waistband. I can pick a gun if I'm appendix carrying.
Yeah, but you're not saying that jujitsu is not a good thing to learn.
No, I think any type of combat is a good thing to learn. You just have to know your limitations on what it is. Like recently, I saw a guy. He must have been a jiu-jitsu wrestler dude. He's out in a street fight. He does a double leg on a dude, smashes the guy. But guess who comes out to go save the dude that just got smashed? Like all of his buddies, right? So I think combat sports are something that you should do and look into, but understand its limitations. Really is what it comes down to.
Yeah, that's a good point. Anything else you want to talk about tonight, Corey? I think we had a pretty good conversation.
Yeah, I think we did.
Talking a little bit about training, talking about your incident, what you went through.
Mm-hmm.
With that, though, with the aftermath, did you have any? Does the department make you go to see a counselor or anything like that when you're involved in that OIS, loss involved shooting?
I can't quite remember on that incident itself. However, our agency requires us to do either some type of a counselor visit 1 year, and then the next year it's some type of a health type of thing. So they'll put you through a stress test. I will say this though. The person that's going to take this the worst is probably going to be the spouse, and it depends on who your spouse is. I mean, sometimes your spouse will be like, "Yeah, you did a good job," but other times, the reality of how dangerous this job is just crashed into them, and it wrecks them pretty hard. While everybody's telling you, hey, you did a good job, you did a great thing, nobody is paying attention to the spouse. And you really, really, really got to pay attention to them to make sure that they're okay, because they love you, hopefully, right? They hopefully love you, so it scares them. And the reality of, oh, my husband's a police officer, and then all of a sudden, this is really scary, he almost died. It can hit them pretty hard. So always don't disregard the spouse. And at the time when I went through this incident, I think they did a pretty piss poor job giving her the support that she needed, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's good for you as an individual officer to prepare your family for it.
Yeah,
I mean, it should
really
be.
should.
They shouldn't be surprised when it happens. You hear officers saying that carry a gun for a living and say they're surprised that it happened.
Right.
And that should be no surprise, right? That you carry a gun for a living, you wear body armor when you go to work. That should never be a surprise.
Right.
There should be an expectation that that's going to happen to you at some point.
Well, yeah, and I think
And I think you need to prepare your family as well ahead of time, saying, hey, just understand this may happen. Maybe even talk about the process. Hey, they're going to take me down to the hotel. They're going to take my clothes. I may have to have you come down and do this and that. And I think, I mean, everybody's different. Everybody has a different background. My first wife, she'd worked in emergency rooms and things like that. And I had an incident where I got my car shot up, and I tried to tell my wife about it in the morning and try to show her the car. And she's like, all right, cool. Tell me about it when I get back from work. I'm late. I'm out of here. And she didn't lose any sleep over it. But it was also the background she had. And then I had been in the job for quite some time. So she constantly heard me talking about it with me and my friends and coworkers. And so I think she was kind of more mentally prepared, knowing that, hey, it might happen.
Yeah.
And I was paying my own way to go to some of these officer survival classes, and I was paying out of our own checking account.
Yeah.
So she was aware of that kind of stuff, and I'd share some of that stuff, and she was interested in knowing about it and hearing about it. And even my current wife, she's kind of the same way. If I'm talking about any of this kind of stuff, she takes an interest in it. And so I think that we need to prepare our families for it.
Yeah, I mean that's key, because but just know that you can prepare for them, but when it actually happens, really pay close attention to your loved ones, even the kids.
Yeah.
My kids were a little too young to kind of understand what everything was going on with that, but you also need to watch out your kids as well, unless they don't like you, and then you're okay, I guess.
Well, this job is hard on the family, even without it being in a critical incident. Just the work schedule, you work nights, you're working weekends, you're working holidays. You get home at 2 a.m, sleep for 2 hours, and then that page comes out where you got to go back out on a SWAT call, and then you're out there for another 5, 6, 7 hours, and then you come home, take a nap, and you're back at work again. So it can be a tough job on him.
Oh yeah,
Or the job can be tough, something like that.
something like that.
English wasn't always my first language, just so you know.
Well, you do better than I do, because that's the only one I got, and I don't do it very well at all.
Well, good. I think we're right at about an hour. Talked about a lot of different things, and we could go on, I'm sure, for another few hours talking about different law enforcement and shooting training topics. Anything else you want to say to anybody out there, new hires, cops coming up and looking for some training?
Hey, just always find somebody who you can attach to that can teach you, because that's what I did in my career with Raul here. He brought me up, taught me how to shoot, and can't express the gratitude
Appreciate it.
to you, because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be the man I am today. So
We need to get to a tanning booth. So
I'm kind of
I know
pasty.
it's winter, but
It's okay. We'll get it figured out.
all right. Enough harassing Corey. I think we're going to call it a night, and I hope you guys got something out of this story. And those of you who know Corey, if you see him out and about, shake his hand.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Have a good night.
All right, see ya.